भी ऐसे यंगस्टर्स को जॉब दिलवाने में मदद करते हैं. So we are focused on blue collar and fresher jobs as a category. We are not in white collar, we are not in senior jobs. So our endeavor is कि हम all these institutes जो micro and small job consulting organizations हैं, उनको digitalize करें हमारे software, हमारे platform से, जिससे they can access real and good jobs, relevant jobs on their own platform. So we actually offer a software or a platform as a service to all these institutes, whereby they can launch their own private label job website in their own name, chosen name. And then they can dive into the pool of jobs that we bring from the industry and pick and choose the jobs and add to their job portal, which is the most relevant for them. So for example, like ITI in Aurangabad, now I think it's called Sambhaji Nagar. So अगर उनके वहाँ पे ITI कोई मशीन टूल ऑपरेटर की ट्रेनिंग दी गई है, तो उनको सिर्फ मशीन टूल ऑपरेटर की जॉब चूज करके ऐड करना है, उनको कॉल सेंटर जॉब ऐड नहीं करना, उनको सेल्स जॉब ऐड नहीं करना. तो इस तरीके से हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म एज अ सर्विस की वजह से, जिसको हम गजब जॉब्स बोलते हैं, उनका जो प्लेटफॉर्म है बहुत रेलेवेंट बन जाता है. और साथ ही साथ उनके पास पावर होती है कि जो भी जॉब अप्लाई कर रहा है बच्चा, वो बेसिकली उसको स्क्रीन भी करके रेडी कर दें. तो फिर हम उनको स्क्रीन कैंडिडेट्स को एम्प्लॉयर के पास ले जा करके उनको जॉब पे लगवा करके उस ट्रांजेक्शन को खत्म करते हैं, उस जर्नी को खत्म करते हैं और सबको इन्फॉर्म रखते हैं थ्रू द डिजिटल प्लेटफॉर्म. So this is our endeavor, sir, and ma'am, कि हम किस तरीके से contribute करें toward digitalization agenda of this government and empower these small little units across the country जो youth को train कर रही हैं या youth को job की तरफ ले जाने के लिए efforts कर रही हैं. So that's what we are in a nutshell. I hope I was able to clear this, share this clearly.
That's very interesting platform.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome, Amen.
Can we start?
Yes, I think Amen.
Can you hear me now? Or
Yes,
is it still bad?
Yes, Deepak. Good afternoon to everyone.
Hello, Amazing.
Okay, so before I lose this bandwidth issue, let me go ahead and welcome all of you. So a very warm good afternoon to everyone, and welcome to the 4th day of FICCI MSME week, which we started on the International MSME Day on June 27th. And today's program will focus on a subject of skilling, which is skilling for MSME competitiveness. And we have a very diversified set of speakers with us, with domestic experience, with corporate experience, and with international experience as well. Today's session will be moderated by Mr. Dheeraj Ahuja, who's the member of FICCI Task Force on Digitalizations and Skilling, and he's also founder and CEO of Skills Connect. He's an experienced chartered accountant and management professional with over 25 years of experience in both Indian and global MNCs across sectors such as insurance, BPO, K-12, vocational training, and banking industries. And he has recently turned entrepreneur by launching Skills Connect, which is basically building India's first retail digital network of skill training providers to provide blue and gray collar jobs. So thank you very much, Mr. Ahuja, for joining and moderating this session. We also have Dr. Leena Deshpande, a very well-respected name in this field, who's the Associate Vice President HR and Head CSR at Bharat Forge. Mr. Santosh Mandlecha, who's the immediate past president of Maharashtra Chamber and also chairman of ITI Girls in Nasik. Mr. Manoj Barve, who's the head of BVMW India, which is the German Federal Association of Small and Medium Enterprises. And we have Mr. Ameya Vanjari, who's the head operations partnership and technology at Tata Strive. So I will leave this discussion to moderator just to inform our audience, which is on the YouTube platform as well as FICCI Bike platform, that they can ask their question both in the YouTube as well as on FICCI Bike auditorium page. There is a Q&A section where you can specify a speaker and ask a specific question. So if you have any specific question, do ask us and we will take that to the moderator and to the panelists. So thank you very much again for joining, and over to you, Mr. Ahuja.
Thank you, and namaste and good afternoon to all the esteemed panelists. and all the audiences who are watching this live. I think the topic is very relevant as India is progressing, rather marching on towards the economic growth that the government has laid the path for. A very important element of this entire growth will be driven by the micro, small, medium enterprises, which we call MSME. It's a very large sector in our country. And to a large extent, it's also a lot of unorganized, but holds a huge potential. Today, MSMEs combined employ close to 110 million workforce. That's roughly 11 crores. And approximately 75% of these people are predominantly working in informal setups. And that means that they have not taken any formal skill training and have just joined fresh out of schools or colleges. While the need to skill this large informal workforce is very, very obvious, but MSMEs themselves are not having enough resources to skill them or even upskill after a certain period. This reduces the throughput, the productivity, and hence the competitiveness of these units. And this obviously will only mean that they will not be able to produce as much as their potential is, and hence contribute even further towards the economic growth, which would mean that the target that Indian economy has may get delayed or achieve lesser than its own potential. However, as we have seen that the skill development mission of the government over the year has tried to address this problem by launching several skilling initiatives through multiple schemes across the country through various channels, and have tried to lift the skill level in the country and formal training among the youth. But we have seen that the outcomes have been below than expected. And there are several reasons to it because, our country is very diversified, very spread across various regions and languages. But definitely there's a stated need for a policy change. So this includes more focused approach towards building skill initiative by addressing the demand side rather than only focusing on the supply side. When I say demand, it means the industry which requires people who hires them. So we should be more addressing their needs, expectations, than only aggregating youth from various areas and trying to skill them. There needs to be a matching of the industry demand with the training that needs to be imparted. So a strong mechanism needs to be built around this, especially to address the need for MSMEs, so that they can access skilled labor, skilled workforce, rather than any person who's not having any formal training and joining, because their journey to become productive will be longer. So this session today is aiming to look at receiving inputs from the esteemed panelists on how and what going forward we need to do in terms of skilling for MSMEs as keeping them in focus, and how can those innovative initiatives can be driven so that more and more youth who's trying to join the MSME sector as employee become skilled and hence are able to contribute better and contribute towards the overall growth of both MSMEs as well as the economy of India. With this, I think I would turn to our first speaker, Dr. Leena Deshpandeji. She is an accomplished, career professional in human resources, skill development, and CSR. And she's currently working with Bharat Forge, where she also has set up a ITI in near Pune, which is considered to be one of the best ITIs in India, and having a very unique model of public-private partnership. And she's organized several skill development programs for various principals of various other ITIs, faculty members, to upgrade their skills, and also for the rural youth to increase their employability. So welcome, Dr. Leena. Very good to have you on this panel. I would request you to, please start this discussion with your thoughts, and I think you have a presentation as well. So please take it away.
Good afternoon, and Dheerajji, thank you for setting the tone of the session. The session is on skilling for MSME competitiveness. My co-panelist and participants. My presentation sequence or this initial address will be like this. I would like to just explain what are the changes, socio-economic and technological changes that are taking place, and sustenance of the organization is absolutely important. Then what is competitiveness? When we are saying it is for MSMEs competitiveness, what do we understand by competitiveness? Why competitiveness? And also about competitive advantage. And if, every organization has got a certain life cycle, and that life cycle, right from conception to growth to maturity, what kind of HR initiatives and especially skilling and learning and development are required, that we can see it in just in short, and then importance of skilling, learning and development and how to do it for MSMEs. Basically, we all know that India is a young nation, and for over 45% of its population is within the age group of 25 to 35. Then to ensure that this broad labor pool is competitive and contributes to the growth of the development of our economy, definitely skilling becomes the priority. And as the driver of growth, definitely it has to, this young pool has to contribute to the business as well as their skilling and their learning and development. As Ahujaji has told us, that skill ministry we have set up and a lot of efforts are on, but due to diversities, due to large population, there are certain issues, but sincere efforts are definitely going on. MSME sector has been considered as the key player in Make in India campaign as well as Atmanirbhar Bharat thought process. And lot of expectations are there from MSMEs as they are the backbone of Indian economy. And the prediction is by 2022, that is this year, that 150 million skilled people, they are going to, definitely MSME requires it, and 150 million, that is 15 crore, it's really very sharp, high target as such. And how we are going to achieve this, that definitely needs to be seen or definitely needs to be thought of. Everything is changing, that is right from technology, regulations, business processes, every layer is changing. As far as technology is concerned, if you consider manufacturing sector, Industry 4.0 is the in thing. That is companies like Bharat Forge, we have set up Industry 4.0 labs, and manless shop floor is the target, basically IoTs, then artificial intelligence, that all these digital technologies, they are sweeping in. And there are regulations in the sense they are MSME friendly kind of regulations that are coming up. Business processes are changing, especially after COVID, after pandemic, they have definitely changed, and definitely they require very different kind of skills. With these, when technology is changing, regulations are changing, definitely the people who are working for the organizations, the change is definitely required as far as their competencies and skill levels are concerned. Then products and markets, they are definitely changing. B2B business of MSMEs can definitely is B2C business also, due to different startups and lot of boost to the startups. Very innovative products they are coming up, and definitely B2C business is equally important for MSMEs. Then economy is changing, as we all know that MSME's contribution to GDP is that is MSME ministry is expecting, rather they are aspiring that it should be 50% in GDP. And as far as consumer is concerned, definitely the quality of products, cost effectiveness, cost competitiveness is equally important. So every organization has got certain life cycle that starts right from its foundation, then expansion, stabilization, and then instead of decline, we can say another life cycle sometimes starts. And for every stage, right from foundation, expansion, stabilization, skills, different skill sets, then different competencies they are required for the organization. What are these different competencies? They are not only just technical competencies, technical skilling is required, but managerial skills, entrepreneurial skills, they are equally important. Then behavioral training to change the mindset of the people, to promote innovation in the organization, that is also required. And the organization that give a lot of importance to learning and development and to skilling, definitely they progress well. Because history tells that organizations who believe in learning and development, definitely they grow. But the dilemma is that for MSMEs, that if you consider the finances, economy, then definitely learning and development becomes second priority sometimes, because other issues are so pressing issues. Survival is important, and so skilling becomes second priority, because a lot of investment is required in skilling, in learning and development. It is not MSME's example, but my organization in 2003, a lot of strategic decisions we had taken. And we realized that even our chairman said, next 20-25 years will be the years of learning organizations, skilling organizations. So investment in skilling and learning is equally important as we do it in the business. So competitiveness, what is competitiveness? It's a complex concept, and it's a firm's ability to survive in the conditions of competition. Then what are the factors of competitiveness? That is, by proving products and services that meet high quality standards at competitive prices. So product quality is important. Then the product differentiation is also required, that requires innovation. And that is both at nationally, internationally in relation to the possibilities and performance of other companies. And that is what is competitiveness. A company needs to have various desirable processes in the organization, which will ensure different aspects like safety, efficiency, quality, high productivity, adaptability, success, modern management, superior products, optimal cost, and for all such things, lot of training of the employees as well as the training of the entrepreneur is equally important. Innovation, affordable prices, and faster services can determine the difference when it comes to attract the customers. And so this is about competitiveness. Though government reforms have contributed towards the generation of a growth-friendly environment of MSMEs, we know that many initiatives government has taken just to promote MSMEs, support MSMEs. Individual growth of each enterprise depends on their ability to keep in touch with industrial advances and ensure that the right skilled workforce is available. There is digital transition. There are many concepts like Industry 4.0, 5.0, and one has to know these concepts. Not only knowing is important, but definitely a little bit of training application of these concepts in the business, all these things are extremely important. Enterprises with culture of learning are some of the highest performers in competitiveness, agility, and engagement when knowledge is freely distilled throughout the organization. So, culture of learning that believe in learning, skilling, that mindset needs to be developed as such. But as I have told you, there is always dilemma for MSMEs that how to invest in learning, in skilling. So in minimum investments, by adopting certain different ways, skilling is possible. And our ITI setup in India, if we use it properly, then definitely there can be solutions. Recently, I had just heard our director technical, Maharashtra State, and he was explaining about NAPS and MAPS apprenticeship schemes. All these apprenticeship schemes, for example, MAPS, that is applicable to Maharashtra, so MAPS, 5,000 rupees stipend is given to the apprentice. In under NAPS, around 2,000 rupees stipend is given to the apprentice. And there are schemes like Strive that deals with industry clusters. Unfortunately, I came to know that Strive couldn't get the required support of MSME clusters or industry clusters as such. But the concept was good. Industry clusters, they were helped under this scheme to start apprenticeship center, and government had given monetary help to start these centers. There are industry, we can become, MSMEs can become, their clusters can become partners to ITIs, and industry specific courses, they can be started. For example, MSME cluster requires certain skill sets. Then definitely ITI, nearby ITI can be approached, and the required skills for required skill sets, specific courses, they can be started with the help of state government setup as such. Employee volunteerism, it's slightly different concept that I would like to share. In employee volunteerism, I mean to say that under CSR, skill development is one of the important areas. The industries that are large-scale industries, they can spare their volunteers, technical people, to conduct input sessions for MSMEs on certain technologies. We have done this experiment with ITI principals and imparted few sessions with the help of Bharat Force volunteers, and that really helped. Exposure visits to all these industries, they also help, and applicability part in the ITIs, when we give exposure to principals, then instructors, definitely happens. And similarly, we can do it for MSME employees, MSME entrepreneurs, and last but not the least, idea labs and incubators, technical incubators promoted by government. And idea labs, this concept can be implemented at ITIs also. The ITI that we had started at Khed, we have communication lab over there. Then we were planning to start idea lab also, but couldn't start it last year, and we have every plans to start idea labs where students can come over there, even for certain product development. That lab can be used by MSMEs also. There are many institutes like ADTs, Agriculture Development Trust, that is other than manufacturing setups. They are helping by providing offices to these MSMEs, just to have workplace, then providing labs and such kind of institutes. They are coming ahead. Government is coming ahead by starting technical incubators And only thing that the entrepreneurs, they need to know all these resources. Government is open enough to help, and even private industries, large scale industries, they can also help MSMEs as far as knowledge, this knowledge gain is concerned or skilling is concerned. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mrs. Leena. I think this has been really useful. At least it sets the tone very clearly, because coming from a very large industry conglomerate which hires so many people, trains youngsters, and also helps several ITIs to become better at it. It's very useful start. I would now turn to Mr. Barve. I think let me give you a quick lowdown on Mr. Barve. 1 second. So Mr. Manoj Barve heads the BVMW India, which is the German Federal Association of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises. Mr. Barve comes with over 35 years of global experience with a career footprint across several countries. He's a SME evangelist who has been championing the cause of Indian SMEs in an effort to help them find the rightful place on the global platform. As a president of India office of BVMW, which is the German Federal Association of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, Mr. Barve aspires to elevate the standards of Indian SMEs by supporting them to augment their technical capabilities, be inspired by the latest developments in their domains, and help them connect better with potential buyers and collaborators. Mr. Barve also has a small presentation on the best practices around his experiences from the German side. Mr. Manoj, over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll just share my screen. Yes. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see it. Yes, we can see it.
Okay, perfect. First of all, thank you, Deepakji, for the invitation here, and Dheerajji for the nice introduction. And I am also a chartered accountant, but I'm also working in a different domain like you are doing. And that is mainly because of our passion for SMEs, for skilling and activities like that. So BVMW, German Federal Association of SMEs. And why I'm taking this topic here is because German SMEs are known to be extremely strong. They have certain characteristics, certain key success factors which have made them strong. And especially the major key success factor for the strength of German SMEs comes from skilling. Now, I am taking this as an example just to benchmark upon if there are certain things which we can learn from. That is because the structure base of this vocational education and training in Germany is totally different, and it has history of couple of 100 years. It has a different mindset, it has a different status within the society. But we need to start somewhere. So we can keep this as a role model, as many developed and developing countries are also doing. So the topic is skilling for competitiveness for today's webinar. These definitions have changed quite a bit during last couple of years. And the definition of MSME, the wider definition now, promotes growth. Earlier, there was incentive to stay small, but now it is to promote growth. And I'm taking it just for a comparison because German SMEs are about 450 crore. Companies are also considered to be medium-sized enterprises. And this is what BVMW German is. This German SMEs are called as Mittelstand, and that word is also quite popular in English language or in business culture. There are different things which are in German here. 88% of the entrepreneurs are owned by the SMEs, are owned by the 95% are in are family owned, and so on and so forth. 58% is the value addition which SMEs do in Germany. But this particular field, this is very important here. 83% of all apprentices in Germany are getting training with SMEs. 83%, that is 4 out of 5. are getting trained by SMEs. The remaining 17% get trained by Bosch and Siemens and Audi and Volkswagen and all those large companies. SMEs play a big role in training the apprentices, and they also benefit from it, definitely. Skill India, Deshpande Madam also mentioned, it has been partially successful for various reasons. It has been successful because we can see 64% of Indian companies in a survey in 2014 mentioned that they are affected by skills shortage. That has gone down to 56% after 4 years. So it has improved, but there is a long way to go still. Skills and employment, I mean, we are talking about skills and competition definitely, but employment is also an important factor, as Agnivir scheme also recently showed. If these companies, Austria, Denmark, Switzerland, Netherlands, and of course Germany, are known to be known for their skilling programs or vocational education and training, and we can see their unemployment rate remains at about 5%, as against European Union average of 6.5%, and Spain and Greece are at the wrong end with almost 15% unemployment. And especially when we talk about youth, we have to see how these countries also reflect. They again are at the lower end of youth unemployment, which is pretty high in European average, 17%. Again, Spain and Greece with 30-35%, and Germany is the lowest in European Union with 7.5%. So skill training and employment, there is a direct correlation, as we can see. This is amongst the most important slides, I would say, for today's topic. There was a survey, or there was a report done by Bertelsmann Stiftung, Bertelsmann think tank, very well-known think tank in Germany, and they say, I will just read a short paragraph, couple of lines from their report. They say that skilling leads to incremental innovation in Germany, and it leads to competitiveness. They say that it is generally agreed that basic innovations are generated by the researchers and scientists at universities. In addition to that, what is called as incremental innovation, the small everyday process improvement that are not produced by great inventors, but are rather the result of thoughtful problem solving by the people who implement and test new processes and products on a daily basis. Such incremental innovations are achieved when well-trained, skilled workers are not only perform their assigned tasks, but also identify, describe, and solve the problems in innovative ways. It is a process that leads to steady improvement, and steady improvement leads to competitiveness. I mean, we know Germany is not known for its low salaries. It's very expensive country. It has demographic issues because the population is growing or graying also. But it's still competitive. It's still, in certain sectors, it still competes with China and all this because of the quality of their product, quality of their machines, quality of their tools, and most importantly, quality of the human resources which are trained. Now, what happens there is that this is a rough picture of German education system. Education has very high value there, research has high value, and skilling also has high value. So half of the Germans, 50% of the Germans, they do their matriculation similar to us with 10th standard or at the age of around 15, and then they go for 2.5 to 3.5 years of dual vocational education and training. And at the age of 19th, they already enter labor market. Of course, there is remaining half which goes the usual way of pre-university, bachelor, master, doctorate, and all. But there is a big chunk of population which is going through the vocational education and training. It could be for various trades. They have identified almost 300 trades for which they go through this dual vocational education and training and enter the market as experts in turner, fitter, welder, or mechanics or medical assistants, you name it. There are different trades in which they get trained. Now, what is the structure? I will just go through this quickly because this is a discussion. So, but I can give more information for anybody who wants to know about this. So there are employers unions or chambers. There are employees unions and government. These are all the stakeholders in this. And then Germany has almost 70, 80 different industry associations. These industry associations could be like FICI and CII, or they could be industry related. You know, it could be only aluminum casting industry, or it could be VDMAs, mechanical engineering. So these industry associations play, Deepakji, a very great role in setting the agenda, in defining the course, and conducting exams, setting the standards, training of trainers. That is all done by the industry associations, and they come together. Almost 70% of the training is on the job. So it is in company. We are not talking about ITI kind of a training. It's similar, but it's 4 out of 5 days. The apprentices go to the factories to learn. They become part of the team. They become part of the systems and processes. So they learn a lot of tools directly. They handle those things. And say 1 to 2 days in a week, they go to the vocational schools. And there they are taught 2/3 about time they learn the topic which is related to their vocation, and 1/3 of the time they learn general topics about, you know, mathematics and history or whatever they are required to learn. Expenses of this is again public private thing, but a major expense, unlike in India, are borne by the employers. Employers give stipend to these trainees who are which is pretty high, with which they can survive comfortably on their own. And the schools are operated mostly by state governments or local governments. From this vocational education and training, everybody benefits. The trainees get excellent quality education directly on the job training. Their employability is very high. 74% of the trainees, they get hired in the same company, you know, and almost remaining 24%, 25%, they get hired by some other company or competitive based on the trade which they have learned. They get familiarity with the tools. Tools means it could be for blue collar job or it could be for white collar job. It's not learned as theory, but they are working day to day, 4 days out of the week. They are learning with using those tools. They are part of the team. They are embedded in that company, so they make themselves almost indispensable. That's why 3/4 of the companies hire them directly. And as I mentioned, they get good stipend from the company. The companies benefit because they get highly qualified employees directly on the job learning. They have done continuous flow of labor, so they don't have to go and search for the employees. They are continuously training. You know, every 3 years there is a new batch of trainees come in the company. Familiarity with the tool, again, they become productive immediately. That in India, often it happens that 1 or 2 years they need to be trained in order to become productive. Again, by being embedded in the company helps the company employees also, because they know the trainees very well, and extremely high productivity, which compensates for the high costs of the employees. That is compensated by the productivity. For country, again, it becomes competitive advantage. Made in Germany as the brand which is developed. In spite of high costs of their products, they can export quite a lot. Employment and regional balances. Those companies are mostly in small towns and countryside also, but the employees generally stick with those company for long period of time, and industrial peace also. There are various factors for this, dignity of labor, vocational training, but those we will discuss. What happens with these people who have trained and not go for academic education? They continuously get upskill or reskilling, and that's why they make themselves available in the market. And that's why the employee satisfaction is pretty high in Germany, and especially with SMEs. India has a long way to go, and this topic we will be discussing, so I'm not going to discuss this in detail. We have to create atmosphere, and this is a good job FICCI is doing, but also you, Dheerajji. So awareness about the schemes available, we need to give. Dignity of labor is extremely important, and that is the reason why 50% Germans go for apprenticeships, because dignity of labor is available there. Prior learning, how we can recognize prior learning, those people who have already learned it in informal way, that needs to be looked into. Employees say, of course, in India that we train the employees, but then they leave us after they get trained, they get poached by competition. So how to ensure that that also needs to be discussed into. Training the trainers is an extremely important factor. People who are pedagogic, who have learned, as well as they are experts in their trade. This kind of people we need for training. And the content in Germany, it is decided by the employers. These employer associations, they decide about the content, and that's why it remains relevant, and you know, the kind of they are up to date with the knowledge, the apprentices, and it's integrated in general education. Germany provides a lot of information. Germany wants to, we have a collaboration with them, and they want to promote their model. They know it is a successful model. They want to promote it for their companies which are in foreign countries, but also as part of their agreement, general agreement with the government to government level. They have this GoVET, Go Vocational Education and Training. This is an organization, and there are a lot of information about processes, statistics, data portals available, and I can provide you with the links to this if somebody is interested. That's it. That is me.
Thank
and I personally feel a combination of Skill India initiative, new education policy, and learnings from successful German model of WAIT will go a long way in materializing our own demographic dividend, which we say we have.
Very well said, Mr. Manoj. I think giving a German perspective is very apt, because Germany and South Korea apparently are two economies which have done a phenomenal work in the area of skilling, and have achieved tremendous economic growth for their countries. I think we have another pertinent panelist in Mr. Ameya Vanjari from Tata Strive. I think they also are doing some great work in the area of skilling. He heads operations, partnerships, and technology at Tata Strive. And being there for a program to deliver significant impact, technology plays a key role, and Ameya is responsible for planning and implementing the solutions around technology and supports the capabilities and processes at Tata Strive. He also is involved in introducing various innovations for the program to facilitate development of youth for success in the future, enabling development of tomorrow's skills while maintaining quality. Before Tata Strive, he had led business and IT architecture for consulting practices at TCS for over 8 years. So a veteran from Tata House. Over to you, Ameya. Would love to hear your perspectives and the great work that Tata Strive is doing in this area.
Thank you, Dheeraj, and it's a perfect segue in terms of what Mr. Burve was sharing on dual VT and the German model. That is a flagship program that we run, and some of what, or most of what I'm going to share today is based on our experiences through that program. But before I deep dive into the couple of thoughts that I want to share, I do want to take this opportunity to share a little bit about Tata Strive. Tata Strive is a fairly young organization. 7 years ago we were established, but in the last 7 years we have touched 1 million lives, and we are extremely proud of the journey that we have had in the last 7 years. This impact that we have had is through two-pronged approach. First is through our centers. We offer short-term courses. We have a network of 150 locations across which we offer short-term courses to youth who are unemployed, who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And I'm happy to report that more than half of them get employed in the MSME sector. So while we try to reach the large corporates, but more than half of them, especially in rural areas where local MSME opportunities are far more preferred than migrating to large corporate opportunities. So that's one. The second lever that we work is working with the rest of the skill development ecosystem to improve quality. So this is done either through training of trainers, training of faculty, like Leena ma'am was saying about training of ITI faculty and principals, or through sharing of content or sharing of assets that we have developed is what we do. So that's the second lever through which we have essentially delivered impact over the last year. So across these two levers, the work that we've done with MSMEs, one is employment, but second one is a flagship program in partnership with Siemens on the bringing some of the best practices of the dual VET model that Mr. Burve was saying. Mr. Burve beautifully demonstrated or explained what the dual VET model is. But given our systems, given our constraints that we have in India, we can't implement the complete system in India. But there are certain practices and certain aspects that we have implemented. And we are working with over 5 states right now, out of which 2 are fairly, we have been working the last 3 years, Delhi and Maharashtra, where within the government ITIs, we implement a few aspects of the dual VET model. These are only work that we are doing with the government ITIs. So what we do in the dual VET program is, out of the many things, one is when we work with the government and the principals to alter the curriculum to include a 1 month or a 2 month in-plant training for all ITI training. So all students have an opportunity to spend 1 month or 2 months in the industry, because working in the industry is the experience that really helps students. The second thing that we do is working with the faculty. We train them on the best practices of vocational education in terms of activity-based and project-based learning, not just learning based on textbook experiments or doing a carpentry block or a fitting joint, but actually actually applying the knowledge to solve certain problems. So project-based learning is something that we advocate. We enable ITIs to implement that. So bringing up the skills, improving the quality of learning that happens in the ITIs through training of trainers, training of principals, and bringing new pedagogy elements and helping them with projects is also something that we do. The third thing, which is extremely important, is we have our team in these states who work with the MSME clusters and onboard MSMEs to bring them closer to the ITIs. The challenge or the opportunity that we have, of there is one message that I would like to give, is the lever or to solve the problem of lack of skills or skilled workforce for MSMEs is for MSMEs to come closer to the educational institutions. And that is extremely important. The way we do that is we onboard, we create a we go to various MSMEs, we onboard them into this particular program. So if you ask me today in Maharashtra, there are more than 1,200 MSMEs that have been onboarded. Equal numbers in Delhi who are part of this, who have been empaneled with us. What we do with them is we provide the in-plant training of the students. We take them to the MSMEs and make them spend a month or 2 months into the MSME institutions or MSME organizations. And within that exposure that the students get is extremely invaluable. And even within that, some MSMEs take an extra step forward. Some organizations have gone ahead and appointed a learning and development buddy who every day 1 hour takes the learner not only from the job that they do, but they actually take the student and walk them through the whole organization, different products, different machines, different functions. They also get access to the owners of the organization, which is something that you can't expect in a large corporate. If these are interns who go to large corporates, they won't get that holistic exposure, but that happens in MSMEs, and that's extremely invaluable to the students. Some MSMEs go ahead and say, okay, I will pay for a little bit of stipend to cover their transport expenses, because many students come from faraway places, provide them with food. Definitely one thing that we definitely ensure is they have the safety equipment and the safety practices are followed by the MSMEs for the job that they are doing, be it electricians, be it fitters or welding equipment. So that is something that we inspect before we onboard the MSMEs. But these are aspects of trying to the effort to bring MSMEs closer to the institutes. The second thing that happens, we identify opportunities for MSME to participate in the project-based learning pedagogy that we want to implement. We work with MSMEs and say which projects, which challenges can students work with. And if students come up with innovative solutions, we create a hackathon kind of opportunities, a stage for students to present what they have done. And these opportunities are something that brings some hidden aspects out of students, not just the technical skills, but also honing the life skills, which are absolutely essential. So these events are also a fabulous opportunity. We took a hit during COVID, but it's coming back again. We just had a few industry roundtables and workshops in the last 2 months, and the participation has been fantastic. So that's another lever that we work with. We have also seen some of MSMEs not only working with ITIs, but they actually, one of the challenge, again, Dr. Leena was mentioning, alluding to, that the changes happening are very rapid, and access that MSMEs have to be agile enough to adapt to these changes is limited. They don't have access to technology or the industry know-how. Industry 4.0 is something that many MSMEs struggle with for various reasons, the capital challenges and other challenges that they have. But one thing that they can definitely do, and this is what we also saw some MSMEs do, is actually provide internships to engineers. Some engineers actually want 6 months internships, 6 months experience, and they actually get them on board to do simple things. Can you build a website for us? Can you do digital marketing for us? Can you do research on a particular project? These are things that MSMEs can't invest by themselves, but this opportunity is there when they come closer to the institute. So those are examples that I wanted to share today. That one thing that if I have to share from the work that happens is if MSMEs come closer to the institutes and bring in some of the best practices of dual VET, which Mr. Barve shared, into the Indian ecosystem, and we are doing that in 5 states, seen good success in the 2 states that we have been working for years. The other 3 states we are starting in early days, but it looks promising. So those are the best practices. Those are some of the lessons that I thought I would share in this panel. Very happy and privileged to be here amongst you all, and thank you, Dheeraj and Fiki, for having me here. Those are my thoughts that I wanted to share. Thank you.
So Amir, do you have a hard stop now, or can I ask you a question?
Since you can ask me a question. Yes, I do have a hard stop in another a few minutes.
Okay. So I think before you go, just one question which was there in my mind. Since you work very closely with MSMEs and 50% of your entire trainee gets absorbed over there, is there a way or any insight which these MSMEs share with you in terms of how, what kind of skill do they need, and what can technology play for them to be more effectively integrated with the skilling ecosystem, so that not only do they get the desired people from it, but the other side, they also are able to identify that this MSME requires them, so they can go straight and get a job. So any experiences over there, technology and the MSME?
So a couple of thoughts, Dheeraj. One is for every course, every curriculum, we get the industry partners on board. We work close with the industry to design the curriculum and keep it updated. So that is a practice that we follow. To give you an example, when it comes to let's say even the refrigeration and AC courses that we offer, and even various ITIs offer, Voltas as well as partners of Voltas. Now, partners of Voltas are the MSMEs, either the contractors who work on the projects or the dealers who actually have the staff that actually provide services to our homes or offices. Now, these are the large or small contractors who are the MSMEs. They tell us on what are the skills that are required in the course, which should be included, which should not be included, the newer products that are coming in. IoT is something that is now embedded within the RAC equipment that is installed in quite of the new infrastructure that is coming up. So include that into the course and curriculum. Remote monitoring is a capability that we should be including. So that input is something that we continuously, we have a channel to capture that input and include it in our courses. That is one. The second is also the concept of the same concept that I spoke about of implant training. We call it OJT in the short courses. Spend at least 3 weeks, 4 weeks within a company, within an industry, get real life experience. And that's a good period where we provide them a booklet saying these are the topics that we have covered in our course. If there is something else that you would want to cover, or if you want to reinforce during the on-the-job training, we provide that as an opportunity. And that's a practice that is also working well for us, Dheeraj. Those are the two things. And technology, yes, technology changes are happening. That is embedded as part of our program right from day one, and it has helped us standardize. So if we update a content in one course in Mumbai, across all centers, the update happens. So that has really helped us standardize and scale up.
Oh, this is really useful, Amir. Thank you so much. And do stick around for some more minutes if you can, because we have Mr. Santosh Mandalecha coming next, who has been a veteran in this area of MSME skilling. So he's the chairman of ITI Girls Nashik and immediate past president of Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture. Seasoned entrepreneur himself, and also director at Reliance Electronics based in Ambad, Maharashtra. He's also, as I mentioned, past president of Maharashtra Chamber of Commerce and Agriculture, where he took a lot of initiatives to support MSMEs in Maharashtra. He's also chairman of ITI Girls, like I mentioned, and he focuses on driving the agenda for strengthening and driving the vocational education in Maharashtra. So, sir, very glad to have you. I'm sorry it took a little long because I think all the panelists had some good initiatives and insights to share. Over to you, sir. Please share your thoughts on the topic so that we also can learn more with your experience. And I have some questions later on also, which I will ask you. Over to you, sir. संतोषी, कैन यू हियर मी? आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही सर. सर शायद आपका म्यूट है, आप एक बार चेक करिए. नहीं सर, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ रही है. Deepak, is there issue with can you just check?
Issue because he's unmuted, but I don't know why he's not.
Santoshi, just try.
I'm getting you.
Yes.
Now I'm getting you.
Yes, you can. We can hear you now, sir. Please go on.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Dheeraj, and all my co-panelists of today's program, and especially to Mr. Deepak to invite me for this program. First of all, I would like to congratulate FICCI to have this MSME week, and specifically in MSME week, this skilling of MSME for competitiveness. I think this is a very relevant program for MSME. Very rightly said by Leena ma'am, if we want to have a competitive, we must have a skill. MSME only can competitive if they have a skill manpower with them, and then only they can be a competitive. A lot of inputs I got from today's program, from our speakers, very rightly pointed out by Leena ma'am regarding the MSME. As of now, MSMEs are not very much organized. That at the same time, she told that in near future, MSME required 15 million skilled workers, and where these workers we can get. So white collar employment can be generated. It is already available in the market, but blue collar and gray collar, skilled manpower, it is always shortfall for the industry, which we have observed. Regarding industrial clusters through Strive, very rightly pointed out by the Leena ma'am, stating that there are not an appropriate support from the MSME organizations like clusters for the clusters. But why it happens, that is also a very much important thing need to be discussed over here. All the MSME as of now, they are trying to survive themselves after the pandemic. So in every clusters need to have some investment from the MSMEs. So there are percentage of the contribution from MSME, which is at very high portion. And I think due to that reason, the MSME associations are not in position to be a part of that kind of clusters. Regarding the sandwich courses, which what we have discussed by Mr. Manoj Barve about the German perceptions. I think with that perception only, now ITIs have come up, very rightly pointed out by Mr. Amey. Previously, it was 1 or 2 months on-job training was required. And now after having and inputs from the MSME, I think government ITI has taken a decision. Now the sandwiches courses will be run by them. Now on-job training will be taken place for 6 months. I think that is the way only people can contribute from MSME, because for 1 or 2 weeks, the MSME, they cannot afford this kind of on-job training. Because during the time, these students, they get some inputs about the industry and they cannot be employable during that time. So if they can work for 6 months in that particular MSME, definitely, as very rightly said by the Mr. Barve, in Germany, around 74% of that on-job training people can get absorbed in that industry. The same thing can be happen in India if this kind of practices can be taken places. Another thing is that, so our Honorable Prime Minister has declared that in 2025, we must have a 5 trillion economy. That capability India has. But when MSME will get strengthened, and if MSME will get strengthened, only and only if scaling will take place. And I think government has taken a lot of initiative since last 5 years. I have been associated with several MSME organizations as well as the skill development organizations. And I have seen a lot of changes. I have seen a lot of policy changes, in particularly in this field. And we sure that, at least at the MSME, we are assuring that if we can get this skilled manpower, we will be definitely a backbone for the large scale industry as well as for this economy. Another thing which have been told by the mayor, students, they get the exposure in MSME widely. They work very closely in MSME. Yeah, it's very true, because in MSME, only 10 or 15 people, they are working together. And that's why this on-job trainee will get an exposure to understand various departments, various operations. And I think that's the way he can get skilled as early as he can. And he can be a good employable student for the industry. Another thing which is very, very important, today if we can go for that, everybody is saying there is unemployment. And at the MSME, if we can see, we will say we don't get an appropriate employer. So why this is happening? Because what I have observed during last 10 years, there are campus interviews taken place in polytechnic colleges, in engineering colleges. Some of the colleges, they get good campus interviews. Some students, they get a very good packages also, and that becomes a benchmark for each and everybody. So that's why people even though they don't have that capability, but they always compare that package, that benchmark, and that's why they are not ready to work. And I think this is the very vital point which has to be discussed, need to be work on it. Why the people they are looking only on for that? People they don't want to work for MSME, they are looking for the only large scale industry. And I think we need to change our mindset. With this, we can only generate a good employment for the India. I think with this, I would like to conclude my uh, opening remark. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Santosh. I think this has been very, very useful. In fact, I have one more question to ask you actually, because you run an ITI specifically dedicated to girls. And it is apparent that you've achieved a lot of success, outperformed it against other ITIs. We would really love to know what has been the differentiating factors in your ITI, which is the girl-centric ITI, and how other ITIs are not able to do what you're doing. It will be very useful to understand that, sir.
Sure. I think Leena ma'am, she will agree with me. When the ITI you took as an PPP, public-private partner for that particular idea, you have to understand that if you can give an appropriate time, if you can give an appropriate inputs, if you can work together with them, then and then only you can take that assignments. Otherwise, you should not. So, in particularly in my ITI, when I gotten this opportunity from Government of India as well as from Government of Maharashtra, I took that initiative. I used to visit that ITI at least 2 to 3 times in a month. I spent 4 to 5 hours, particularly on those days. I understand them. See, basically, we have to change their mindset of that particularly government red tape mindset that we have to need to change from them. And what I have practicing since last 7 to 8 years, I went there, I met them, and it's very rightly said by the Mr. Manoj Barve, upskilling and reskilling of the trainer. That is very much important. I tried to connect with them. They should not feel that this is a very different kind of identity come over here. I work with them as a part of that ITI, discuss with them their difficulties, our suggestions, and we work very closely. And I think if they have that kind of attitude, definitely your ITIs and rightly work hand to hand, and we can achieve a lot after that. And that's the way I tried it, and I'm getting a good result out of it. Yesterday we had a regional level fashion show for government ITIs. I think this was the first time in Department of Skill Development of Government of Maharashtra. They have taken this kind of initiative. From this platform, I would like to congratulate Verma Madam, then Director Mr. Dalvi and their entire team to have this kind of different kind of thoughts in their mind. The ITI girls, those who are getting the training for the fashion designing and dressmaking, after having that knowledge, they get a platform where they show their intelligence and their what you can say their performance. And it was a fabulous yesterday. And on 15th, they are having this show in Mumbai for the entire Maharashtra ITI. I think these are the way these people they are trying to change themselves and trying to become more professional. I think this is the way only we can achieve, as very rightly pointed out by Mr. Manoj Barve. If we want to become a good skill trainer, we should have this kind of experiences in this.
Thank you so much, Santoshi. I think you rightly said Dalvi sir has been in the skill ecosystem. ITI is related for now entire his life. I think I met him at Mumbai last month, and very, very knowledgeable, very connected to the roots kind of a person.
Actually, he's a very practical guy.
Very practical guy, very practical. And in half an hour, I could understand so much about the entire ecosystem, which I think I would have taken months to really understand. Manisha ma'am, of course, is very, very action oriented. And I think thanks to her that, a lot of stuff is happening on the ground. So thanks for sharing these insights. There's a question from a YouTube audience, which I would like to pose to Leena ma'am. I think it's also covered by her partly. The question says that, what's your take on the internal processes to be streamlined for MSME companies, including HR, which unfortunately is not given enough importance by them? And since you have access to so many MSMEs who work for Bharat Forge, would love to hear from you, Leena ma'am, what could be the right answer and things that need to be done on the ground.
Yeah, sorry, I missed the first sentence of yours.
So the question says, what's your take on the internal processes to be streamlined for MSME companies, including HR, which unfortunately is not given enough importance by MSMEs?
As I was describing it in my presentation also, it's a dilemma all the time. Because priorities, to setting up priorities is a problem. That sometimes finances and survival issues are so intense that other factors like having separate person for HR, having proper processes, knowledgeable person who is setting up the processes, or they become next priority, second priority as such. And in such cases, definitely the mentor organization, if they are working for large scale industries or for skilling ITI kind of setup, they have to take this help. And the most important way today we can all think about that under CSR, skilling is one of the areas, major areas, and employee volunteering is also one of the major areas. Why not to take help of employee volunteers who are working in established organization as a consultant or as a person to set up the processes? And definitely volunteers will help, because our employee volunteers, they go to school also and they help them when teachers are not available. They teach the students. Why not to teach, or why not to set up the processes of the upcoming business or upcoming startup, or maybe micro, medium, small business? Definitely this way we have to in fact think about it, and this will work according to me.
Sorry, thank you, Leena ji, for this answer. I have a question for Mr. Manoj. Since we can see that a lot of work from German gets transferred to a lot of other countries which aspire to adopt to their skilling ecosystems best practices. How have you seen this transition into India? We saw the graphs that you showed that the skill development initiatives by the government of India has shown an impact, but a long way to go, like you mentioned. But is there sufficient activities happening between the two governments to adopt to what the German skilling ecosystem has to contribute?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we recently had intergovernmental discussions. Mr. Modi was, Prime Minister Modi was there, not yesterday, that was for G7, but in the beginning of May, I think. And there they have undertaken a lot of cooperation programs. It could be on research, it could be on digital technologies. Similarly, there are things which are on education and training, scaling. When Germany decides something to have in its intergovernmental discussions or as agenda, then there is a program behind it. So they have this go wait, Vocational Education and Training International. There is an organization behind it. There is BIBB, which is again a government department, is there. Indo-German Chamber of Commerce in India is also pushing for learning from those platforms. There are companies like we used to give the example of Bosch, which 4-5 years ago decided to adopt 50 ITIs in Maharashtra. But I'm really glad to hear that companies like Bharat Forge and Tata and others are also doing these things. So it can be discussed, how the German government is offering certain ideas, certain funding, and how we can take it, how we can work upon it. That needs to be discussed so that we can benefit even further from that.
Okay. Thank you. I think we are reaching towards the end of our session. So last 5 or 10 minutes. So I would like to ask one top, let's say, initiative for each of the 3 stakeholders, which is the training ecosystem, the employer ecosystem, and the government. So I would like to ask all 3 of you if you can share one key initiative that all 3 needs to undertake in the next years to come, so that the MSMEs adoption of skilled workforce and their own productivity improvement can be achieved. Maybe we can start with Mr. Santosh. So one initiative.
Yeah, I think Mr. Manoj has given this inputs to me about the MSME. Quality product can be sold at very good price.
Correct.
As German people are doing since so many years.
Yes.
So in India, if we really want to strengthen the MSME, so it means they want to have a good opportunity to make a good profit. They have to have a skilled manpower. If they have a skilled manpower, definitely they will produce a good quality product, and definitely they will come with the good product. Of course, not like Germany, but like India, we can earn a good profit, and we should make this habit to India. Thank you.
Right, sir. And sir, anything that you would like to address from the government side? What should be the push from their side to spur this ecosystem into adopting skilled manpower?
Yeah, actually, a lot of initiative has been taken by the government of India and government of Maharashtra also. See, there are some policy need to be revisited, because now they have come up with this sandwich course, like 6 months people should work in industry, and they should 6 months they will be in institute. At the same time, they have given some certain criteria for that. They can go for the MSME, those who are having this much of turnover since last 3 years, they are in existence. Then what about the startups? What about the newcomers? Whether they can get this kind of manpower or not. So they have to have some thoughts in their mind, in their policy, if any good startup is there, because startups also required a good manpower, and that need to be worked out very well. So whenever this kind of policy will take place, exceptions should be there, and it should be incorporated. These are the way. And fortunately, the Manisha Verma madam and Dalvi sir, they are very positive. If we can give and if appropriate inputs to them, they are taking an initiative with that, and we may get some benefit out of it. Thank you.
No, very, very good point, sir. Very good point. Manoj sir, your views on one initiative that the ecosystem of MSME should take to get more skilled manpower into their fold, and one initiative from the government side and one initiative from the training side. very quickly.
I mean, we need to change our mindset. I mean, first thing is that this dignity of labor. I mean, government should do something in that direction. I mean, a lot of people, they aspire to become, academicians. They become MBAs, they become engineers, but it's not all practice oriented. So, and we need these people. I mean, we need skilled people a lot. Maybe we don't need so many engineers, but we need machine operators and all. So that is extremely important, which government can take initiative, increasing awareness, giving it a social acceptance. In that direction, something needs to be done. There are certain very good initiatives which Mr. Santosh has also mentioned, or Dr. Leena has also said. I have seen one Delhi-based plumbing organization. They give prizes, and they publicize it also in media. So that is extremely important. And like Santosh ji has again said, that MSMEs can train the apprentices much better way than large companies. They can get a lot of hands-on, and MSMEs also depend on them. It's not that it's not a luxury which they have when they hire some apprentices. So it's both ways, and MSME also have to understand that these are the resources which are going to be important for us. And then again, the loyalty. I mean, there I don't have a solution. The problem which MSMEs as well as large companies face is that we train them and then they go to competition or whatever. So how that can be ensured with some kind of bond or something? I mean, it has to come from within, but then finally you have to have some external tools also to hold them, so that you train them and you also benefit from them for a couple of years.
Good points. Good points. So loyalty and dignity.
I would like to one point in this. Actually, the thing is that very rightly pointed out by Mr. Barbe, there was an thought in my mind, my employee, I can spare 1 hour from the industry, from my organization. He can spare 1 hour from his time. So we will give a training for 2 hours. We will pay all the training fees, whatever it is. But we need to have an agreement or something, confidence from him. So after having that training, he should work at least for 2 to 3 years for the organization. Otherwise, we will invest our time, we will invest our money. After getting his training, he can fly over. So what is the use? So I think we should work on this also. So we should give the input.
So you're saying that a policy in this direction should be made, which should not be construed as prohibitive policy, so that you are constraining the freedom of a person to choose another job. You are trying to say that a policy should come out, which should say that if the company is investing, MSME is investing in you, it is your moral duty to remain with them and let them enjoy the benefits of that investment in you. That's what you're saying.
We don't say like that it should be remain forever with us, but at least for 2-3 years.
Recovering your investment. Yes. Yeah. Fair point. It's a fair point. And last question, last word to Leena ji. I think Manoj and Santosh sir, what they're saying is the loyalty and the aspirational value of becoming a blue collar workforce also lies in how much industry pays to them, because obviously comparison comes, oh, white collar guy is earning 25,000, 30,000. I am earning the minimum wage. Why this disparity? Is it because there are profit aspirations from corporates and then they don't want to pay more? Or is it the supply issue because there's so many people available? So you kind of, leverage that. So what is the view of the industry, in your opinion, how to improve this particular aspect? And hence it becomes more aspirational for people to join the workforce.
As far as large-scale industries are concerned, blue-collared workers and officers, there is separate mechanism to address their salary issues. In the sense, there is collective bargaining, then as per the Factories Act, things run. And there are regular agreements of the blue-collared workers, and they get their salary as per their skill sets and as per their, you can say, some are turners. So as per their skill set, they get the salary. And as far as officers are concerned, performance appraisal mechanisms, they are in place.
All right.
So there is logic why certain officer is getting more money, or just yesterday joined employee is getting more money than the person who is operating on the machine. There is logic, and this logic is accepted by both the sides.
Got it.
But the question comes in case of, say, where Factories Act, or they're applicable, but still it's not possible to practice certain things due to certain constraints, monetary constraints. So it happens with MSMEs that, the person who is working on the machine for more than 8 hours probably gets little money than the person who is supervising the whole thing. But these issues definitely they need to be sorted out. And for that matter, as I was mentioning it, that help needs to be taken from the industries who are established industries where professionals are working. They will act as a mentor to resolve such kind of issues. And as far as medium scale industries are concerned, mechanisms are in place. In big industries or even medium scale kind of industries, question remains about micro industries, question remains about startups or what we call it as MSME, but they can be definitely sorted out with the help of professionals. And for that, employee volunteering, as I was mentioning it, that is the key impact, that the people who are experts, who have experience, several years of experience in that field, they can act as a mentor and will be able to help to resolve the issues as such.
No, I think this topic is very important, and I mean, a long discussion can continue to be to cover all the points. But I think so far in the last 1.5 hours, we have been able to cover quite a distance, and I think this will serve very well to FICCI's cause of making the relevant notes and utilizing them in their interaction with the government and other stakeholders to draw out certain policy framework and improving situation from here on. So thank you so much, Dr. Leena, Manojji, and Santoshji. I personally would be interested in learning more from you separately, and I learned a lot today also during the interaction. Thank you so much for your time. Deepak, over to you.
Thank you, Dheerajji. I think this was a very enriching, discussion and valuable points, as you said, both presentations as well as thoughts of Mr. Mandalecha and Ameyaji. And I'm sure, this is what we intended to do, that, get more, pick brains of these people who have been working in this ecosystem, and, then go back to government and share these suggestions. So we would certainly be, doing this post MSME week once it gets over. And deep gratitude to all the speakers for being here, sharing their valuable thoughts, and I hope that we can do much more of this kind of interaction for the benefit of MSMEs. We will be coming back to you soon because we have planned a session on the eve of World Youth Skills Day, which is on 15 July. So we will be doing our program on 14 July. So I would like to reconnect and understand how we can, take your support to do that program. And we have already reached out to state government as well. So we will be doing that. And so hopefully we'll soon have a different flavor of discussion, but again, within the skilling realm and domain. So till then, I thank you again. And I also thank all our partners, ACGC, SIDBI, Tata Tele, for supporting us for this program. And with their support, we'll look forward to doing more of similar kind of program. In fact, today Prime Minister has announced certain schemes and certain improved version of existing schemes. So that will be an interesting read for everyone on the employment guarantee scheme and some other things which he has under Udyami Bharat program he has launched this morning. So with that note, again, thank you very much, and I will leave a video of our partner Sidbi for our audience to watch, and we'll connect tomorrow for our final session, which is on women entrepreneurship, another very vibrant and important subject, especially both from a women participation in the employment and women participation in the entrepreneurship journey. So we'll again have certain set of excellent panelists for tomorrow's session, which starts at 2:30 same time. So I request our audience and anyone of you who's interested to join us for that discussion. Thank you very much. On this note, we close this session.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deepak ji.